Why? The storm gathers. Low clouds hang over an empty stretch of Pacific Ocean, the surface broken only by whitecaps and the faint wakes of distant ships. On a flight deck, oil-stained boots move quickly across steel plates slick with sea spray. Engines cough to life, propellers blurring into translucent discs as deck crews signal through wind and noise. Below decks, mechanics work by dim red light, hands blackened with grease, while radio operators lean close to their receivers, straining through static. Far beyond the horizon, another fleet moves in careful formation, its carriers the core of a force built for decisive action. Both sides know that the next encounter may not be a raid or a skirmish, but something larger. In the vastness of the ocean, a few small islands are about to draw opposing navies into a battle that will reshape the balance of power across the Pacific. By mid-1942, the Pacific War had already seen dramatic shifts. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Japanese forces had advanced rapidly, capturing territory across Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific. Their navy had demonstrated striking power, and many Allied positions appeared vulnerable. Yet the attack had also drawn the United States fully into the war, mobilizing its industrial capacity and naval resources. In April 1942, a small but symbolically significant American air raid on Tokyo signaled that Japan itself was not beyond reach. Japanese planners, concerned about future strikes and seeking to force a decisive naval engagement, developed a plan to lure the remaining American carriers into battle near Midway Atoll, a remote but strategically positioned base northwest of Hawaii. Control of Midway would extend Japan's defensive perimeter and threaten further operations toward Hawaii. For the United States, holding Midway meant protecting the Central Pacific and preserving a forward base for future operations. Both sides understood that aircraft carriers, not battleships, had become the decisive instruments of naval warfare. The coming clash would test not only ships and aircraft, but intelligence, timing, and command decisions under uncertainty. Act 2. The plans. The Japanese plan, overseen by Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto and executed in part by Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo, relied on a complex, multi-pronged operation. 4 frontline aircraft carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, formed the striking force. These carriers had already played central roles in earlier victories and carried experienced aircrews. Their objective was to neutralize Midway's air defenses, draw out American carriers, and destroy them in a decisive engagement. The United States Pacific Fleet, under Admiral Chester Nimitz, faced the challenge of responding with fewer operational carriers. Enterprise and Hornet, along with the hastily repaired Yorktown, formed the core of the American carrier force. While American crews had less combat experience, they benefited from improving coordination and, crucially, intelligence derived from code-breaking efforts that revealed key elements of the Japanese plan. Morale on both sides reflected recent events. Japanese forces were confident but aware that the window for unchallenged expansion was narrowing. American personnel, still absorbing earlier losses, recognized the importance of the coming battle. The objective for the United States was not immediate dominance, but survival and the chance to blunt further advances. Midway Atoll itself was small, with limited facilities, but its airfield allowed land-based aircraft to operate far from Hawaii. In the weeks before the battle, American forces reinforced the island with additional aircraft and defensive positions. Runways were patched, fuel stored in vulnerable tanks, and anti-aircraft guns positioned along sandy ridges. Logistics on both sides were shaped by distance. Fleets operated hundreds of miles from major bases, dependent on careful fuel management and supply ships operating behind the scenes. Weather over the North Pacific in early June was variable, with cloud cover and haze that could conceal or reveal fleets at critical moments. Intelligence played a decisive role even before the first shot was fired. American cryptanalysts had identified Midway as the likely target of the Japanese operation, allowing Nimitz to position his carriers northeast of the atoll, hidden and waiting. Japanese planners, believing surprise remained on their side, advanced with confidence. Both fleets moved through vast stretches of ocean, unaware that the other was already closer than expected. Act 3. The collision. On the morning of June 4, 1942, Japanese carrier aircraft struck Midway, bombing installations and attempting to suppress defenses. American fighters rose to intercept, while anti-aircraft fire filled the air with bursts of smoke. Damage on the island was significant but incomplete. Runways remained usable and aircraft continued to operate. Reports from the strike force indicated that a second attack might be necessary, as Japanese crews began rearming aircraft below decks. Conflicting reconnaissance reports arrived. Sightings suggested the presence of American ships, possibly carriers, in the area. This created a dilemma: prepare for another strike on Midway, or switch to anti-ship weapons to attack the newly reported threat. Meanwhile, American carrier aircraft launched in waves toward the Japanese fleet. Torpedo squadrons, flying low and slow, attacked first. They faced intense anti-aircraft fire and fighter opposition, suffering heavy losses and achieving no immediate hits. Their sacrifice, however, drew Japanese combat air patrols down to low altitude and disrupted defensive formations. If you were in command at this point, would you have made the same choice? Share your thoughts in the comments. As the skies above the Japanese carriers grew crowded and chaotic, higher-flying American dive bombers searched for their targets, fuel running low and visibility uncertain. Act 4. The break. Shortly after mid-morning, American dive bombers from Enterprise and Yorktown arrived almost simultaneously over the Japanese carrier force. With fighter cover pulled low and decks cluttered with fueled and armed aircraft in the midst of rearming, the carriers were vulnerable. Bombs struck Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu within minutes, igniting fires that quickly spread through hangar decks. Damage control efforts struggled against explosions fueled by aviation gasoline and munitions. Smoke rose in thick columns, partially obscuring the ships as crews fought to contain the damage. Within hours, 3 of the 4 Japanese carriers were fatally crippled. Hiryu, the remaining carrier, launched counterattacks that damaged Yorktown, but was later located and struck by American aircraft as well. The loss of 4 frontline carriers and many experienced aircrews in a single day marked a decisive shift. Japan's ability to conduct large-scale offensive carrier operations was severely reduced. The initiative in the Pacific, once firmly in Japanese hands, began to pass to the United States. The turning point at Midway was not just the destruction of ships, but the sudden erosion of a carefully built offensive capability. Act 5. The aftershocks. The battle's immediate cost was heavy. Japan lost 4 fleet carriers, a cruiser, and hundreds of aircraft, along with many veteran pilots and crew members who could not be quickly replaced. The United States lost the carrier Yorktown, a destroyer, and numerous aircraft, with significant casualties among aircrews. Midway itself remained in American hands, its airfield still operational. The Japanese Navy, while still formidable, shifted from a posture of expansion to one increasingly focused on defense. Plans for further advances toward Hawaii or the Central Pacific were set aside. In the months that followed, American forces began a series of offensives, including the campaign for Guadalcanal. Industrial production in the United States accelerated, delivering new ships and aircraft at a pace Japan struggled to match. Midway did not end the war, but it altered the trajectory of naval operations in the Pacific, changing the strategic calculations on both sides. The Battle of Midway changed history because it halted a pattern of rapid Japanese expansion and demonstrated that carrier warfare could decisively shift the balance of power in a matter of hours. By eliminating a significant portion of Japan's experienced carrier force, the battle reduced its ability to dictate the tempo and location of future engagements. Midway also highlighted the importance of intelligence, coordination, and the role of chance in warfare. American code-breaking and timely decisions allowed a smaller force to confront and defeat a larger, more experienced opponent. The loss of trained aviators proved especially damaging to Japan, as pilot training pipelines could not quickly replace those lost. Strategically, Midway marked the transition from a defensive struggle for the United States to a prolonged offensive campaign across the Pacific. Historians continue to study the battle as an example of how information, timing, and concentrated force can outweigh numerical strength, and how a single engagement can reshape the course of a global conflict. Today, the waters around Midway are quiet. The horizon as wide and empty as it was in 1942. Yet beneath that surface lies the memory of a battle that shifted momentum across an entire ocean. The decisions made over a few tense hours influenced the direction of the Pacific War and the shape of the world that followed. If this battle helped you understand history better, consider sharing it with someone who values history, and follow the channel for more battles that changed history.